Good evening. Welcome to Heavy D Storytelling. I'm David Sneathen. This is JJ. Got Daniel and Kimmy here, and Mom's upstairs. How are you doing? I'm going to wait just a few minutes. I did put a link in the description to the chapter in Proverbs that I'm going to read here in just a little bit. And then we're going to keep reading in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, because I was very tired last night and I really apologize, but I only got to read one chapter. And there's Mom. Mom has joined us online. So if you are able, go ahead and just share the link, and maybe we'll get some more people to join us. Hi.
Hi, Mom.
Everybody say hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Yay. Okay, so I've got one person.
That's Mom.
That's Mom.
Bad guy join. Bad guy join.
Yeah, we're going to wait, but while we're waiting, we're going to go ahead and just read Proverbs chapter 14. And I did put a link in the description, so if you want to follow along in your own Bible, but you forgot to bring your Bible, then that's why that link is right there. Oh, there's Rebecca, just in time.
Yay.
Rebecca, you are going to listen to Proverbs chapter 14. I did put a link in the description, so if you want to click on that, then you can follow along.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Becca.
This is the English Standard Version of the Bible. The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down. Whoever walks in uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is devious in his ways despises him. By the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of an ox. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. A scoffer seeks wisdom in vain, but knowledge is easy for a man of understanding. Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not meet words of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, but the folly of fools is deceiving. Fools mock at the guilt offering, but the upright enjoy acceptance. The heart knows its own bitterness, and no stranger shares its joy. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. Even in laughter the heart may ache, and the end of joy may be grief. The backslider in heart will be filled with the fruit of his ways, and a good man will be filled with the fruit of his ways. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. One who is wise is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless. A man of quick temper acts foolishly, and a man of evil devices is hated. The simple inherit folly, the prudent are crowned with knowledge. The evil bow down before the good, the wicked at the gates of the righteous. The poor is disliked even by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends. Whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. Do they not go astray who devise evil? Those who devise good meet steadfast love and faithfulness. In all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. The crown of the wise is their wealth, but the folly of fools brings folly. A truthful witness saves lives, but one who breathes out lies is deceitful. In the fear of the Lord one has strong confidence, and his children will have a refuge. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. In a multitude of people is the glory of a king, but without people a prince is ruined. Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. A tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. Whoever oppresses a poor man insults his maker, but he who is generous to the needy honors him. The wicked is overthrown through his evil doing, but the righteous find refuge in his death. Wisdom rests in the heart of a man of understanding, but it makes itself known even in the midst of fools. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. A servant who deals wisely has the king's favor, but his wrath falls on one who acts shamefully. That's the end of Proverbs chapter 14. We're almost halfway through Proverbs, and we're almost halfway through April. So, at this time, Kimberly is going to remind us what yesterday. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello. How are y'all today?
Oh, we have a third person.
Okay.
If you're a third person on our page, then please make a comment so we know who you are and say hi to us.
Hi, Kate. Bet it's Katie.
Of course.
It might
Hey,
be Katie.
JJ.
Hey, it's Kimberly's turn.
So, in the last chapter, um, Caspian, Edmund, Lucy, and Eustace, they ended up on this island, and you see this island. It
There's nobody
No, there were invisible people on it, and the invisible people, they um they were like the servants of a magician, and the magician, he got mad at them this one day and made them very ugly so that they couldn't stand to see each other. So um since magic spells in since this one pretty young girls or something, or a magician, uh, they were waiting for a young girl to come up on the island because everybody was too scared. Well, sorry, I backtrack a bit, sorry. They made everybody invisible because they didn't want to see each other. So they waited for after a while they liked it. Well, after a while they liked it, then they decided that they wanted to see each other again. So they started waiting for a girl to come onto the island so that she could cast a spell because everybody was too scared to go up to the wizard's keep because he could still be there. And so uh they found Lucy, and they're gonna make her do the spell. And that's about it, right? Sorry, I wasn't really listening because
Oh, you weren't listening.
I was doing my nails last time.
Okay, well, I guess that's not a very good activity for you while you're supposed to be listening. Hi! So, I think Kimberly basically got it. Can't hear you, Dad. Mom says she can't hear me.
Can't hear me.
Okay, JJ. Okay, we're not gonna be able to read tonight. JJ is not following instructions right now. You need to go get something to do. Go get some pages to draw or something. Okay, and I wanted to take this opportunity to just say that I did post a picture, some of y'all saw it, of that Kimberly drew. I think maybe it was 2 days ago. I thought it was yesterday, but maybe it was 2 days ago, of a dragon. I think that dragon was Eustace. Let me know what you think in the comments. that dragon is. But since Kimberly drew the picture of the dragon and I posted it, I thought it would be great. I'm going to start posting the pictures that the kids draw while I'm reading. So if you want to see those pictures, let me know in the comments. And plus, if you want to add any of your own, then just, okay, so I guess for a little while you couldn't hear me, but now it's better. Okay, that's good. So she already did it. Okay, so, okay, are you going to keep interrupting me or am I going to finish talking? So if you have some other pictures that you want to share, then please take my page and post whatever pictures that you want to on my page. And we will be happy to display your pictures on the page. So, all that said, we're going to begin. The next chapter is chapter 10, The Magician's Book. Are y'all gonna stay where you are? Daniel, put the shield down. No, you better not draw on the shield. Hey, we're having a real hard time getting started today. We could put this off till tomorrow. If the children aren't gonna behave, then we can put it off till tomorrow. How about the children behave? I think what sounds like a good idea is the children behave. No, that's not an option. Okay, are we gonna behave so I can read? We're 12 minutes in now. Okay, this is too long. You guys are supposed to be settled before it starts. Okay, I think that you guys are just getting hyper when it starts. Hello? All right, I think we're gonna put this off and we'll Daniel, can you sit correctly, please? Hi. This is Heavy D Storytelling. I'm David Sneathen. Okay, so we're going to read chapter 10. If the kids will behave, we're going to read chapter 10. The Magician's Book. The invisible people feasted their guests royally. It was very funny to see the plates and dishes coming to the table and not to see anyone carrying them. It would have been funny even if they had moved along level with the floor, as you would expect things to do in invisible hands, but they didn't. They progressed up the long dining hall in a series of bounds or jumps. At the highest point of each jump, a dish would be about 15 feet up in the air. Then it would come down and stop quite suddenly about 3 feet from the floor. When the dish contained anything like soup or stew, the result was rather disastrous. I'm beginning to feel very inquisitive about these people, whispered Eustace to Edmund. Do you think they're human at all? More like huge grasshoppers or giant frogs, I should say. It does look like it, said Edmund, but don't put the idea of the grasshoppers into Lucy's head. She's too keen on insects, especially big ones. The meal would have been pleasanter if it had not been so exceedingly messy, and also if the conversation had not consisted entirely of agreements. The invisible people agreed about everything. Indeed, most of their remarks were the sort it would not be easy to disagree with. What I always say is when a chap's hungry, he likes some victuals, or getting dark now, always does at night, or you've come over the water, powerful wet stuff, ain't it? And Lucy could not help looking at the dark, yawning entrance to the foot of the staircase. She could see it from where she sat, and wondering what she would find when she went up those stairs next morning. But it was a good meal otherwise, with mushroom soup and boiled chickens and hot boiled ham and gooseberries and red currants, curds, cream, milk, and mead. The others liked the mead, but Eustace was very sorry afterward that he had drunk any. When Lucy woke up next morning it was like waking up on the day of an examination or a day when you are going to the dentist. It was a lovely morning with bees buzzing in and out of her open window and the lawn outside looking very like somewhere in England. She got up and dressed and tried to talk and eat ordinarily at breakfast, but then, after being instructed by the chief voice about what she was to do upstairs, she bid good-bye to the others, said nothing, walked to the bottom of the stairs, and began going up them without once looking back. It was quite light, that was one good thing. There was indeed a window straight ahead of her at the top of the first flight. As long as she was on that flight, she could hear the tock, tick, tock of a grandfather clock in the hall below. Then she came to the landing and had to turn to her left up the next flight. After that she couldn't hear the clock any more. Now she had come to the top of the stairs. Lucy looked and saw a long wide passage with a large window at the far end. Apparently the passage ran the whole length of the house. It was carved and panelled and carpeted, and very many doors opened off it on each side. She stood still and couldn't hear the squeak of a mouse, or the buzzing of a fly, or the swaying of a curtain, or anything except the beating of her own heart. The last doorway on the left, she said to herself. It did seem a bit hard that it should be the last. To reach it, she would have to walk past room after room, and in any room there might be the magician, asleep or awake or invisible or even dead. But it wouldn't do to think about that. She set out on her journey. The carpet was so thick that her feet made no noise. There's nothing whatsoever to be afraid of yet, Lucy told herself, and certainly it was a quiet, sunlit passage, perhaps a bit too quiet. It would have been nicer if there had not been strange signs painted in scarlet on the doors, twisty, complicated things which obviously had a meaning, and it mightn't be a very nice meaning either. It would have been nicer still if there weren't those masks hanging on the wall, not that they were exactly ugly, or not so very ugly, but the empty eye holes did look queer, and if you let yourself, you would soon start imagining that the masks were doing things as soon as your back was turned to them. Here is a picture of Lucy going down the hall. That is one creepy hall. Creepy, creepy.
Oh, that's not creepy. That's not creepy.
Daniel says it's not creepy. Put your comments below whether or not you think it's creepy. After about the sixth floor, she got her first real fright. For 1 second, she felt almost certain that a wicked little bearded face had popped out of the wall and made a grimace at her. She forced herself to stop and look at it, and it was not a face at all. It was a little mirror, just the size and shape of her own face, with hair on top of it and a beard hanging down from it, so that when you looked in the mirror, your own face fitted into the hair and beard, and it looked as if they belonged to you. I just caught my own reflection with the tail of my eye as I went past, said Lucy to herself. That was all it was. It was quite harmless. But she didn't like the look of her own face with that hair and beard, and went on. I don't know what the bearded glass was for, because I am not a magician. Before she reached the last door on the left, Lucy was beginning to wonder whether the corridor had grown longer since she began her journey, and whether this was part of the magic of the house. But, can we stop the sound effects, please? Thank you. But she got to it at last, and the door was open. It was a large room with 3 big windows, and it was lined from floor to ceiling with books, more books than Lucy had ever seen before. Tiny little books, fat and dumpy books, and books bigger than any church Bible you've ever seen, all bound in leather and smelling old and learned and magical. But she knew from her instructions that she need not bother about any of them, for the book The magic book was lying on a reading desk in the very middle of the room. She saw she would have to read it standing, and anyway there were no chairs, and also that she would have to stand with her back to the door while she read it. So at once she turned to shut the door. It wouldn't shut. Some people may disagree with Lucy about this, but I think she was quite right. She said she wouldn't have minded if she could have shut the door, but that it was unpleasant to have to stand in a place like that, with an open doorway right behind your back. I should have felt the same, but there was nothing else to be done. One thing that worried her was a good deal was the size of the book. The chief voice had not been able to give her any idea whereabouts in the book the spell for making things visible came. He even seemed rather surprised at her asking. He expected her to begin at the beginning and go on till she came to it. Obviously, he had never thought there was any other way of finding a place in a book. "But it might take me days and weeks," said Lucy, looking at the huge volume, "and I feel already as if I've been in this place for hours." She went up to the desk and laid her hand on the book. Her fingers tingled when she touched it, as if it was full of electricity. She tried to open it, but she couldn't at first. This, however, was only because it was fastened by two leaden clasps, and when she had undone these, it opened easily enough. And what a book it was! It was written, not printed, written in a clear, even hand, with thick down strokes and thin up strokes, very large, easier than print, and so beautiful that Lucy stared at it for a while, for a whole minute. Good night. Nope, nobody rang the doorbell. And forgot about reading it. Nope, Daniel, nobody rang the doorbell. The paper was crisp and smooth, and a nice smell came from it. And in the margins and round the big colored capital letters at the beginning of each spell, there were pictures. There was no title page or title. The spells began straight away, and at first there was nothing very important in them. There were cures for warts by washing your hands in moonlight in a silver basin, and toothache and cramp, and a spell for taking a swarm of bees. The picture of the man with the toothache was so lifelike that it would have set your own teeth aching if you looked at it too long. And the golden bees, which were dotted all round the fourth spell, looked for a moment as if they were really flying. I think this must be, oh, it's the cure for warts right here. There it is. Silver basin in the moonlight. There it is. Just in case you're wondering. Lucy could hardly tear herself away from that first page, but when she turned over, the next was just as interesting. But I must get on, she told herself, and on she went for about 30 pages, which, if she could have remembered them, would have taught her how to find buried treasure, how to remember things forgotten, which might have been good for her if she's forgetting the spells, how to tell whether anyone was speaking the truth, how to call up or prevent wind, fog, snow, sleet, or rain, how to produce enchanted sleeps, and how to give a man a donkey's head. And they did as they did to poor Bottom. And the longer she read, the more wonderful and more real the pictures became. Oh, okay. There you go. So, a shout out to Alora for helping Kimberly learn some Shakespeare, and she learned about the donkey's head and poor Bottom, who had the donkey's head in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And the longer she read, the more wonderful and more real the pictures became. Then she came to a page which was such a blaze of pictures that one hardly noticed the writing. Hardly, but she did notice the first words. They were, "An infallible spell to make beautiful her that uttereth it beyond the lot of mortals." Lucy peered at the pictures with her face close to the page, and though they had seemed crowded and muddlesome before, she found she could now see them quite clearly. The first was a picture of a girl standing at a reading desk, reading in a huge book, and the girl was dressed exactly like Lucy. In the next picture, Lucy, for the girl in the picture was Lucy herself, was standing up with her mouth open and a rather terrible expression on her face, chanting or reciting something. In the third picture, the beauty beyond the lot of mortals had come to her. It was strange, considering how all the pictures had looked at first, that the Lucy in the picture now seemed quite as big as the real Lucy. And they looked into each other's eyes, and the real Lucy looked away after a few minutes because she was dazzled by the beauty of the other Lucy. Okay, boys. I think we need to call it here. Well, I'm really frustrated because y'all aren't following instructions. Children, Daniel and JJ. Okay, we're gonna have to call it here. I'm sorry, we're right in the middle of a chapter and it's an exciting scene, but Daniel and JJ aren't paying attention. They're not following instructions. So we're going to quit right. Don't know me. We're gonna quit right now. We'll come back to this. We'll come back to this tomorrow. I'm really sorry. Daniel and JJ are gonna go straight to bed now. And right. Love you guys. Y'all have a good night. You can keep working on it, Kimmy. JJ? Gosh.